All right, so imagine this. You're getting paid by a client in Bitcoin, all right? But your rent's due in dollars.
Yeah.
Instead of messing around with multiple platforms and transfers and all that, you just click a few buttons. Boom. Rent paid.
Right.
Rest stays in crypto. That's the kind of flexibility this REDFi platform is going for. And today, well, we're diving into how they're making it happen.
Yeah, it's ambitious, for sure. They're not just another exchange. They want to be the bridge between your everyday money, your dollars, and the world of digital finance, crypto, all that.
So no more needing like a separate app for your Bitcoin, another one for your checking account, another one for like international transfers.
Exactly.
That sounds honestly like a game changer, especially for someone like me who likes to keep it simple. One-stop shop.
That's it. And they're starting with a solid foundation, too. They've chosen to support, well-established cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, Ethereum, USD coin. Names, I think you're probably familiar with, even if you're new to the crypto scene.
Yeah, that makes sense. Start with what people recognize, what they're comfortable with, but then they take it a step further, right? They're offering USD accounts, even if you don't live in the U.S.
Yeah.
That seems huge for global accessibility.
It is. I mean, imagine someone in a country with a really unstable currency. A REDFi USD account could be huge. Better interest rates, maybe, or just a safer place to keep their savings.
It's like they're trying to level the playing field, give everyone access to the same, financial tools, no matter where they happen to live.
Exactly. And they're not shying away from traditional banking either. You can move money in and out of your REDFi account using, the methods you're already using, ACH transfers, wire transfers, you name it.
Okay, so this is sounding pretty good so far.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the catch.
Okay, sure.
What's it going to cost me to use REDFi? Are we talking about, outrageous fees?
Well, like any financial platform, there are fees involved, but I do have to give them credit. REDFi lays it all out up front. Transparency is key in this industry.
Okay, so what are we looking at fee-wise?
All right, so they have a one-time compliance service fee. It ranges from $10 to $50, depending on, your account type, individual or business.
Yeah.
And your location, U.S. or non-U.S. And then there are monthly fees, a custodial fee, and a assets under custody fee, I think they call it. It's calculated based on how much money you have in your account.
So the more money you have, the higher that fee.
That's right, yeah. It's a percentage-based fee, which is, pretty standard for platforms like this. Essentially, they're charging you for the service of keeping your assets safe, which, makes sense when you think about it.
Makes sense, yeah. What about when you actually want to use your money? Are there transaction fees on top of all that?
Yeah, there are, and those vary too, depending on the type of transaction. Wire transfers have a different fee structure than ACH transfers, for example. And then there are, separate fees for crypto deposits and withdrawals.
It sounds like there are a lot of different fees to keep track of, honestly.
There are, and that can definitely be a bit overwhelming, at first glance. I think it's important to just carefully consider your own needs and your transaction habits when you're evaluating whether REDFi's fee structure makes sense for you personally.
So if I'm someone who makes a lot of small transactions, REDFi might not be the most cost-effective option.
Yeah, potentially not. But it's important to remember that REDFi is aiming to be more than just a place to, buy and sell crypto. They're offering a whole suite of features you wouldn't find on a typical exchange, and that added value, I think, might be worth the extra cost for some users. It just depends on what you're coming for.
That's a really important point. It's all about weighing the costs and benefits, seeing if it aligns with, your own financial goals and priorities. But let's say I'm sold on the concept. How does REDFi ensure my money is safe, secure on their platform? That's always a major concern with anything finance related,
Absolutely, yeah. And it's something that REDFi seems to take very, very seriously. They've implemented a multi-layered approach to security, starting with the foundation of their platform.
Okay, walk me through it. What specific measures are they taking to, keep the bad guys out?
Well, for starters, they've designed their systems with what they call redundant security measures and databases. Basically, it means they have backups upon backups in case something goes wrong. And they also utilize, the latest security technologies. So they're not relying on outdated systems that could be vulnerable to attack.
That's reassuring, especially in the world of tech where things are, constantly evolving. So what about when I'm actually accessing my account? How do they make sure it's really me and not someone trying to steal my information?
Okay, so they've got the strong foundation. But what about when I'm actually logging in, moving money around? That's where I always get a little nervous, you know?
I hear you. And RedFi has that covered too. They use multi-factor authentication. You might already be familiar with it, actually, from other platforms. It basically adds an extra layer of security, right? By requiring you to confirm your identity, but like through a separate device, your phone, for example.
Right, so even if someone gets my password, they still can't get into my account without that second step, that second verification.
Exactly.
Okay, that definitely gives me more peace of mind.
And then when it comes to like actually storing the cryptocurrency itself, they use something called cold storage. Right, I've heard of that, but to be honest, I don't really know how it works.
So it basically means they're keeping a large portion of those assets offline, so much, much harder to target in a hack.
So it's like having a digital vault or something that's not connected to the internet.
Precisely. It's like way safer for storing large amounts of cryptocurrency. Pretty standard practice, actually, among, reputable platforms like RedFi.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I remember you mentioning they're big on compliance too.
Yeah.
Can you refresh my memory on like what that actually means for me as a user, I mean?
Sure. So RedFi complies with what are called Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering regulations.
Yeah.
It's a mouthful. But essentially, it means they're taking steps to prevent, well, fraud, obviously, and any illegal activity on the platform. They do this by, verifying your identity and monitoring transactions for anything that looks suspicious.
So I'm guessing that's why they have that initial compliance service fee.
Exactly. It covers the cost of those background checks and the ongoing monitoring. And, while it might seem like just another fee, it actually contributes to, well, a safer and more trustworthy platform for everyone.
That makes sense. It's like paying for peace of mind, knowing that the platform is taking security seriously, doing their due diligence.
Right. And it's not just about, ticking boxes for them either. They've taken this commitment even further by implementing continuous monitoring and threat detection systems. So this means they actually have teams and technologies in place that can, identify and respond to potential threats in real time, 24/7.
Wow. So they're always on the lookout.
Absolutely. Constantly analyzing data, looking for patterns and anomalies that could, suggest a potential security breach.
It's good to know they're not just sitting back waiting for something to happen. They're actually trying to stay ahead of the bad guys.
Exactly.
Now, I'm curious about their secure APIs. What does that even mean? And why should I care?
Good question. So APIs are essentially the messengers that allow different software systems to talk to each other. Think of it like this. When you use your debit card at a store, right? The card reader uses an API to communicate with your bank to, process the transaction.
Okay, so first, we're good.
Now, RedFi uses secure APIs, which are, well, as the name implies, designed with security as a top priority. They use things like encryption and authentication protocols to make sure that the data being exchanged between their platform and other systems is protected from anyone who's not supposed to see it.
So it's like sending a confidential message, but in a sealed envelope. Only the intended recipient can open it.
You got it. And this is really important, obviously, in the world of finance. Your account details, transaction history, it all needs to be kept confidential.
Absolutely. Now, we've talked a lot about RedFi's own security measures, right? But what about the companies they work with? How do they make sure that their partners are also, upholding those same high standards of security, of ethical conduct, all of that?
That's a great question, and it's something that RedFi addresses head on. They have a very rigorous vetting process for any third-party partners, and they're actually quite transparent about the criteria they use to evaluate them.
Okay, so walk me through it. What are they looking for in a partner?
Well, first and foremost, they're looking for partners who, share their commitment to security. They want to see that their partners have robust security protocols in place, that they're using the latest security technologies, and of course, adhering to industry best practices.
It's like they're saying, if you want to play with us, you have to play by our rules, at least when it comes to security.
Exactly. But it's not just about having the right tech in place. They're also looking at a potential partner's, track record, their reputation in the industry, their financial stability even.
So they're really doing their homework.
Rah.
Making sure they're not getting into bed with a company that's going to, put their users at risk.
Exactly. And it's not just about protecting themselves either. They're also looking out for their users by partnering with companies that have a proven track record of providing excellent customer service and support.
That's huge. Because if something does go wrong, you want to know that you're dealing with a company that's gonna, like, have your back, help
Yeah.
you resolve the issue quickly.
Absolutely. And, here's something I think is particularly noteworthy. RedFi also considers a potential partner's ethical practices.
No, that's interesting. What kind of, like, ethical considerations are we talking about here?
Well, they're looking for partners who are committed to things like, data privacy, fair labor practices, environmental responsibility. They want to align themselves with companies that, share their values, companies that are committed to operating with integrity.
So it's not just about, like, making a profit. It's about making a positive impact, too.
Exactly. And I think that's something that, more and more consumers are starting to prioritize these days. Choosing who to do business with, I mean.
Hmm.
They want to support companies that are, doing things the right way, both in terms of their product, sure, but also in terms of their overall impact on the world.
Absolutely. Now, we've covered a lot of ground here, but I want to circle back to something we touched upon earlier. This whole idea of RedFi's mission to, like, democratize global finance.
Yeah.
Essentially, they're saying they want to make the American financial system accessible to, well, anyone,
Yeah.
anywhere in the world.
It's a bold vision for sure.
It is. They're challenging the status quo,
Hmm.
especially for, folks in countries with limited access to financial services. Imagine the possibilities for someone who's, like, never even had a bank account before, let alone the ability to, invest or participate in the global economy.
Absolutely. A platform like RedFi could be, truly life-changing for some people, for businesses in those situations too. They're breaking down barriers and saying, hey, you deserve access to these tools, to these opportunities, regardless of where you live, your background, any of that.
It's an inspiring goal for sure, but is it realistic? Can they actually pull it off? I mean, managing fiat and crypto assets, it's complex.
Yeah.
Even for those of us who are, familiar with both worlds. How can they simplify that experience for a global audience, especially those who might be completely new to this whole thing?
Yeah, it's a tall order, you're right. But from what I've seen, they've put a lot of thought into making their platform as user-friendly as possible.
Okay, so how are they doing that? Give me the details.
All right, well, for starters, they've created a unified platform. Everything's under one roof. No more juggling multiple apps or websites or anything like that. You can manage your USD accounts, trade your cryptocurrencies, make international transfers, track all your transactions all in one place.
That's definitely a step in the right direction. I know I get overwhelmed when I have, like, too many different accounts to keep track of.
Exactly, exactly. And they've designed their interface to be like really intuitive, easy to navigate, even for, complete beginners. They've gotten rid of a lot of the jargon, the technical complexities.
So it's like they're speaking plain English instead of, like, bankers speak.
Exactly. They're not trying to intimidate you with complicated charts and, all this technical analysis. They're presenting the information in a way that I think most people can understand.
That's so important, especially in a field that can feel really intimidating to newcomers.
Absolutely. And they're not just simplifying the interface, they're also streamlining the processes themselves.
Okay.
Take moving money between, fiat and cryptocurrency, for example. RedFi makes it incredibly easy to, convert your dollars to Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other supported cryptocurrency for that matter, and vice versa, of course.
Okay, so they're providing those on-ramps we talked about earlier, making it really seamless to move between, like, traditional currencies and digital assets.
Precisely. And they've built these on-ramps with global accessibility in mind. So no matter where you are in the world, you should be able to connect your local bank account or whatever payment method you use to your RedFi account.
That's really impressive. It sounds like they're really trying to, like, remove those barriers to entry, make it as easy as possible to participate in the global financial system.
Exactly. And they're not stopping there. They're also providing like a suite of tools to help users, manage their money more effectively, no matter their, level of financial literacy.
Okay, like what? Give me some examples.
Sure. They offer transaction tracking, financial reporting tools, things that give you a really clear picture of like your spending habits, how your investments are performing, all of that. They're also developing educational resources, I think, to help users learn more about personal finance, cryptocurrency, even the global economy in general.
So they're not just, like, throwing you in the deep end and saying good luck.
Yeah.
They're giving you the resources, the support you need to, navigate this whole new financial landscape.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting, especially for those who might be a little intimidated by like the regulatory side of things.
Yeah.
REDFi handles all the KYC and AML compliance in the background, so you don't have to worry about it.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Dealing with that stuff can be a real headache.
Yeah.
Especially if you're dealing with like international transactions and all the different regulations.
For sure. REDFi takes on that burden, basically, and it makes the whole process much smoother for the user, much more transparent, too.
That's a major selling point. So, to recap, they've got the unified platform, the user-friendly interface, the seamless on and off ramps, all those financial tools, the educational resources, and they're handling the regulatory compliance.
It's an impressive set of features, all designed to like just simplify the complexities of managing your money in a globalized world, really, whether we're talking dollars or digital currencies.
Okay, so they've clearly put a lot of thought into the user experience. They're making a real effort to simplify what is a complex market. But, at the end of the day, it all comes down to security, right?
Absolutely. And that's something that REDFi emphasizes, over and over again. They've invested a lot in building a secure infrastructure, and they're very upfront about the measures they've taken to protect user data and assets.
Okay, so let's dive into those security features a little deeper. Like, what exactly are they doing to, keep my money safe? So remind me again, what's the deal with this cold storage thing? It sounds pretty serious.
It is. Think of it like a bank vault, but for digital currency. That's essentially what cold storage is.
Really?
REDFi keeps most of their cryptocurrency holdings completely offline in these like super secure physical locations. It's one of the best ways to, protect against hackers, because if the assets aren't connected to the internet, they're much, much harder to reach.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like my money is like chilling in a high-tech Fort Knox
Yeah,
instead of just, floating around online, vulnerable and all that.
exactly. And beyond cold storage, they've got all those robust security protocols we talked about earlier, the encryption, the multi-factor authentication, the continuous monitoring, all of that. It's like they've built this digital fortress around your assets, with all these different layers of security to like deter even the most determined cyber criminals.
And that's good to hear because, let's be honest, the world of crypto can feel a little Wild West sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
It's reassuring to know that REDFi is taking those extra steps to, really protect their users.
They are. And, they're not just relying on their own internal security measures either. They're also very careful about the companies they partner with, making sure that any third-party integrations meet those same high standards, the security, the ethical conduct, all of that.
Right, we touched on that earlier. They're not just letting anyone into their ecosystem.
Exactly. They're doing their homework, thoroughly vetting every single partner to make sure they're a good fit.
Technologically, yeah, but also ethically, you know? Looking at things like their security protocols, obviously, their history with data breaches, even their environmental and social responsibility policies.
It's impressive that they're taking such a holistic approach. It's not just about the bottom line for them. They're thinking bigger picture, thinking about like the long-term sustainability, and the well-being of their users too.
Yep.
It's a smart move, honestly. Consumers are, I think, more discerning these days. They want to support companies that, that align with their values, companies that are doing things the right way, not just chasing after profits,
Absolutely. So, when we look at the big picture of what REDFi is trying to do, simplify global finance.
Yeah, right.
Make it more accessible for everybody. And do it all while maintaining these really high standards, the security, the ethical conduct, everything. It's a lot. It's pretty ambitious.
It is, yeah. It'll be really interesting to see how their approach kind of evolves over time, because they're challenging the way things have always been done, pushing the boundaries. They're really betting on this idea that people are ready for something different, a more integrated, user-friendly, globally connected financial future.
It's a bold vision, for sure. And like you said, only time will tell if they can really deliver. But from what we've seen today, they're off to a pretty promising start, I'd say. They've built a platform with a solid foundation. They're clearly committed to security, and they've got a mission that I think really resonates right now, especially with how much the world of global finance is changing.
It's definitely an interesting time to be paying attention to all this, that's for sure. And, whether you're a seasoned crypto expert or just, starting to dip your toes into the world of digital finance, platforms like REDFi are worth checking out, at least.
They are. And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. We've covered a lot. REDFi's platform, how it works, all the ins and outs, their commitment to security, accessibility, ethical practices, all that good stuff. But now we want to hear from you. What do you asterisks think about RedFi? Head over to our website, find us on social media, let us know. And thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the future of finance.